Hi guys, this is the first lecture in the Modern Web Development course, and today I'm going to be talking about internet, browsers, and all that ancient things. So let's just dive into that. Um, it's all started with internet in 1989. Um, there was one network created just inside of one university in the United States. And over the year, it actually expanded to 10 universities. So it was a big deal. They used it for sharing information, sharing researches, and things like that. And without realizing that, that was actually a big push towards the developing browser software, though nobody knew what the browser software was. The very first browser was called World Wide Web, and it was renamed to Nexus, and it was kind of confusing because the name was confusing. But the ancestor of all the browsers that we're using right now is Mosaic. So in 1993, two guys, the guy named Mark Anderson and Eric Bina, uh, they used to work for University of Illinois. In 1993, they released the first browser. The first browsers we know it actually. That had the address bar, that had bookmarks, that had cookies, and all the things that we're using right now. Later on in 1993, they're going to start their own company called Netscape Corporation, and they're going to use Mosaic code base to write their own browser called Netscape Communicator. So this is how the Yahoo page looks like in Mosaic. Pretty hip, huh? And this is how GitHub looks like. This is just awesome. So, um, Internet Explorer. So 1995 was the big year for both Netscape Corporation and Microsoft. Netscape Corporation released the second version of their browser, and Microsoft kind of woke up to that web world. They sort of realized that web is a big deal, and they wanted to be a player in that game. So what they did, they went to Spyglass. Spyglass was the company who owned um, all the licenses for the original Mosaic browser, uh, and they bought them, and they released the first version of Internet Explorer. It was bad. It was really bad, and they couldn't keep up with Mosaic at that time. And next 4 years are known as browser wars. So Microsoft released 4 versions of Internet Explorer over 4 years, and Internet Explorer 5, which was the latest version at that time, by 1998 was the latest version. It was so much better and so much faster than Netscape one, the Netscape browser. Because Netscape browser used to just crash if the page had simple CSS, and it was just sad because Netscape just lost the war to Microsoft. Microsoft convinced PC vendors and ISPs to have Internet Explorer 5 as a default browser. So it was pretty much the end of the Netscape era, I would say. Though Netscape, they were just amazing, I think, because I would consider them the first web advocates. They were the first guys to release the first version of the browser, to advocate for the web, and um, they had a really great licensing model. So they they were the first one to offer um, to offer it free for non-commercial use and for educational purposes. So they had a really big impact on the industry. So by the end of 1998, Netscape Corporation was acquired by AOL, um, which is kind of sad, but not that sad. In 2002, Mozilla Corporation was born. And the first version of the browser, the Firefox browser, came out. Which I think it wasn't called Firefox, it was called Phoenix. But few people know that Mozilla was actually the code name for Netscape browser. So Mozilla is a direct descendant of Netscape 7, because right before AOL acquired Netscape, they did basically two things. They released 3 more versions of their browser, and they went open source. So it is the first open source project ever, which again is a big deal as well. Just to let you guys know that Netscape and Internet Explorer, they were not the only players in that game. Opera had their first version of the browser in 1995. It wasn't that popular, and well, it's not like it's popular now. Just to let you guys know that Opera was a player as well. So let's get to the bottom of JavaScript. So who came up with JavaScript and why JavaScript? Netscape came up with an idea of dynamic language for both client and server side development, and they really needed something lightweight, something like VBScript that Microsoft had at that time. They had a product called Netscape Enterprise Server, which is kind of like IIS in Microsoft stack. So, they came up with a language. And it showed up in Netscape 2.0, was a beta version. It was known as Mocha. Mocha was developed by a guy named Brendan Ike. He used to work for Netscape, and he is a CDO of Mozilla Corporation now. He developed that language like in 10 days, which sounds bizarre, to be honest with you. And at the same time, it's just wicked cool because the guy is super smart. And as you know, as Netscape version, as Netscape 2.0 was developed, the name changed to LiveScript. So JavaScript is not Mocha anymore; it is LiveScript. In the final version of Netscape 2.0, it was known as JavaScript. And the rumor is that they called JavaScript because they had a partnership with Sun, and they were targeting the Java developers market. So they had to come up with a name that is going to sound familiar for Java guys, right? So this is how JavaScript showed up on the market. And then JavaScript was hot. People really liked it. It was a big thing. And Internet Explorer 3.0 had a support for JavaScript as well, but it wasn't the same JavaScript. It was basically the different implementation of the language, and they called it JScript. And this is what happened. There's one thing called JavaScript, right? And now they have 2 different implementations of the same thing. It can be good, right? So what Netscape and Microsoft decided to do, they decided to hire a company to come up with a standard, and they hired ECMA, European Committee, to do that. And European Committee came up with a standard called ECMAScript 262. So every time somebody refers to ECMAScript 262, they're just talking about JavaScript and they're trying to look smart. So don't be afraid or thrown off, right? So why JavaScript is so important? What's so important at that time? Well, people they used to see just static pages, just static text, and now they see a living page, right? A dynamic page, dynamic web. and it got them so excited. It was so much easier to develop for a browser, for browsers, and it was very exciting. I know it kind of sounds trivial for us right now because nowadays the web page is like a living creature. You can see banners and jQuery stuff. Everything is moving around on the page, but it was a big deal at that time. So, so why do you have to learn JavaScript now? Well, the web is on the rise. A lot of things are happening right now. Um, the server-side logic is moving slowly towards the client side. HTML and CSS is not. It's sort of like a standard. People, I think it's not that hard to learn it, and it's a pretty good tool that you can use. And I think that JavaScript is really underrated right now. People don't bother learning JavaScript. They don't think that JavaScript is even a language, is a real language, right? They don't bother to learn it, and part of that because it's, I wouldn't say hard. It's just different. It has two different concepts. It is based on two different concepts. So, first concept is it doesn't use a classical inheritance paradigm. It has a different prototypical paradigm. And the second concept is that I would call it a callback programming. So when you start an operation or a process, instead of just waiting for the process to end, you would pass a callback. A callback is just a function that the process has to execute when it's done doing something. So, and basically this callback concept, you have to spend some time playing around with that to understand it, to fully grasp the idea. So, when people see that, they don't want to learn it. It seems overly complicated, I guess. And I know that the syntax is pretty. Sometimes it's kind of looks weird. Like in this case, var2 equals 1 plus true. Why the hell 2 equals 2, right? Well, the reason for that is true and false in JavaScript is actually just numbers, 1 and 0. I'm sorry, 1 and 0. And 2 is actually just a number. And therefore, 2 equals true is true. So, I know it's kind of weird, but I would strongly encourage you to learn JavaScript. You will benefit from that greatly. So I guess I'll see you next time. We're going to talking about JavaScript in depth and all the JavaScript stuff.